Margil is on the line with us, the executive director of the Center for Democratic and Environmental Rights, centerforenvironmentalrights.org, FOR, centerforenvironmentalrights.org is their website. Rights of Nature is the Twitter handle. And Mari, welcome back to the program. I understand that the first rights of nature type of case is being brought before, for the very first time, a tribal court here in the United States. Tell us about this.
Yes, it was filed yesterday within the White Earth Tribal Court. The White Earth Band of Ojibwe is part of the larger Chippewa Nation. And this is a case brought by Menomin, or wild rice, as well as the tribal government itself and tribal members to enforce their rights, their rights of nature, the right to Menomin or wild rice, as well as their treaty rights to hunt, fish, and gather off reservation. So here you have, as a plaintiff, a plant species, the wild rice, bringing a case to enforce its own legal rights. The White Earth Band was the first to establish a law back in 2018 to recognize that a plant species, Menomin, wild rice, has legal rights. And those rights now apply on reservation as well as to those treaty rights off reservation that tribal members hold that were guaranteed by the U.S. government. And they're seeing those rights being infringed upon by the construction of Enbridge Line 3, the tar sands oil pipeline that's running close by and on their treaty lands, which is going to now use 5 billion gallons of water to construct that pipeline, which will obviously have significant impacts on the wild rice, on water, on the habitat, on their right to hunt, fish, and gather on their guaranteed treaty lands.
Oh, this is absolutely fascinating. There's so many pieces to this. First of all, it seems that, I mean, you know, at the very least, the kind of gauzy dances with wolves notion that most people have of Native American spirituality suggests that Native American communities would be more inclined to recognize the rights of nature, as it's been intrinsic to their culture forever, unless I'm wrong here. I mean, you know, again, I'm not Native American. Then would what we call Western civilization or the United States. Is this something that we're seeing across other Native American groups, that, you know, acknowledging the rights of nature as part of their set of laws?
We're seeing a growing move in that direction. I mean, many have said that the rights of nature, recognizing the rights of Mother Earth, the rights of Pachamama, as it's called in Ecuador's constitution, is really a codification of indigenous values, the relationship to Mother Earth, Father Sky, and putting that into written law for the first time. So the White Earth are one tribal nation that have established, in this case, rights of Menomin, the wild rice. You have the Yurok in Northern California, for example, recognizing rights of the Klamath River, the Menominee, and Wisconsin recognizing rights of the Menominee River. This is very closely tied in with their traditional relationship, cultural relationship with their traditional lands, and looking to protect them in this way that recognizes they have even inherent basic rights to even exist. This idea that wild rice even has a basic right to exist, but beyond that, a right to flourish, a right to regenerate, a right to evolve, a right to water, a right to a healthy climate. Because as we're seeing with the building of this kind of pipeline, the Enbridge Line 3, it's impacting not only water, of course, 5 billion gallons of water, but also having significant impacts on climate change when you're moving all that dirty tar sands oil through the pipeline and ultimately to be burned.
Yeah, yeah. To what extent is this, or let's just do a recap, actually, of how the rights of nature are playing out outside of the Native American communities? You and I have talked about this in the past. Where are we at with the various rights of nature efforts? You guys are at the forefront of this work, you know, with the Center for Democratic and Environmental Rights, centerforenvironmentalrights.org. Where are we at, and is this a tool that can be used to deal with climate change? I mean, it's going to be 106 degrees again here in Portland, Oregon, apparently next week. We've got another heat dome coming. And, you know, climate change is starting to seriously kick our asses in this country.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I'm in Spokane, Washington, and we don't go outside today because of the smoke. So climate change is extremely real for us right now. But what we're seeing within the rights of nature movement, both within the United States, with tribal nations, as well as around the world, we have Ecuador now has it in its constitution. We worked on that in 2008. Bolivia, Uganda, Bangladesh, Colombia, India, all of these have national laws as well as court decisions recognizing the rights of nature, including specific ecosystems, including rivers. So we see this growing effort in this direction. Within the United States, the most recent law that was adopted was in Orange County, Florida, on Election Day last November, where the people there established the rights of waterways. And Orange County is now the largest jurisdiction within the United States to establish the rights of nature in law. And earlier this year, they filed the first court case in U.S. courts to enforce those rights. So you have rivers and other waterways enforcing their rights against a proposed development that will destroy waterways, destroy wetlands. So they're defending even the most basic right of nature to exist. So we're seeing a lot of momentum with this case on White Earth, in the Orange County case, and in lawmaking around the world.
Am I correct in assuming that this will eventually end up before the U.S. Supreme Court, and that might not be a good thing?
We'll see what happens. I mean, there's a growing momentum here. This is really the first time that a tribal court is going to be taking this on. The first hearing date is currently set for August 25th. We'll see what develops from there. But I think it's really important for us to understand, within our own movement, what's happening, that this is a big step forward to have not only jurisdictions, including the White Earth Band of Ojibwe, to establish a law and attempt to enforce that law. That's a big step forward in the development of this movement. I know there's a lot of eyes on this. So we're really looking forward to that day in court and seeing if we can, number one, get an injunction against this pipeline development and against the taking of the water, and to establish off reservation that there are inherent rights of Monoman or wild rice and inherent rights of tribal members to gather the wild rice off reservation on their treaty guaranteed lands.
Right. Am I correct in assuming that the position of the pipeline people is, oh yeah, this whole rights of nature thing and the wild rice has rights, that's just a new wedge, a new cudgel that you're using to come after our pipeline that you don't like?
Listen, they are taking water, they are polluting, they're doing all these things, and of course contributing in a major way to climate change. And people are simply trying to defend themselves. You have water protectors that are getting arrested along the pipeline route because they're trying to protect water. And you have the corporation zone security people coming and getting involved. So, the world is turned upside down, that we're punishing people who are just trying to protect something as basic as having clean drinking water.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Things need to turn around fast.
Yeah, I'm with you. Mari, real quickly, where do tribal courts exist in the spectrum or the ecosystem of courts in the United States? State courts, district courts, circuit courts, federal courts, U.S. courts, the Supreme Court, all that kind of stuff. To whom do they answer? Where would appeals be heard, for example?
Well, here they have, the White Earth Band of Ojibwe, part of the Chippewa Nation, they're a federally recognized tribe. They're a sovereign nation. They have their own tribal court system. And so this tribal court, under the White Earth governing laws, has both on-reservation and off-reservation. That is, they're established an off-reservation court in order specifically to protect those treaty rights of tribal members to hunt, fish, and gather. And this is the first time that any tribal court is going to be hearing a rights of nature case to enforce those rights both on and off-reservation. And so we'll see how that develops from there. And it's innovative. It's the first time it's going to happen, so we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah. Well, Mari, after the hearing in, what did you say, August 25th, I think you said, please let us know how it shakes out, okay?
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Mari. Mari Margil, and with the executive director of the Center for Democratic and Environmental Rights, centerforenvironmentalrights.org. Check it out. Rights of Nature on Twitter.